Ever wonder why your phone screen looks different from your TV, or why some monitors cost $300 while others cost $3,000? The answer is display technology. We're breaking down 8 types, from LCD panels to the cutting-edge Micro RGB tech from CES 2026. By the end, you'll know what makes each different and which is right for you. Chapter 1: LCD TN Panel. Let's start with the granddaddy of modern displays, the TN panel, or twisted pneumatic panel. This technology hit the scene way back in 1970 when 2 researchers filed a patent that changed everything. TN panels use liquid crystal molecules that twist 90 degrees between 2 glass plates. When voltage is off, light passes through for a bright pixel. When voltage is on, crystals straighten and block light for a dark pixel. Think of it like Venetian blinds. TN crystals tilt completely when you apply power, just like blinds rotating to block sunlight. The specs here are all about speed. TN panels have response times of 1 to 4 milliseconds, making them the fastest LCD type available. They can push refresh rates over 240 Hz. But here's the catch. Viewing angles are terrible, maxing out at 170 degrees horizontal and 160 degrees vertical. Colors only show about 70 to 85% of the sRGB color space. You'll find TN panels in budget monitors, competitive gaming setups, and calculators. If you're an esports player chasing every millisecond of response time, TN is your friend. But if you're doing photo editing or watching movies with friends, those washed out colors and bad viewing angles will drive you crazy. The big limitation: move even slightly off center and colors shift like crazy. One direction is especially bad, almost unusable. But here's the thing. TN panels powered the entire LCD revolution. Your first digital watch, early calculators, the original Game Boy. By the 1990s, TN was in basically every portable electronic device. Now, let's talk about the technology that fixed TN's biggest problems. Chapter 2: LCD IPS Panel. IPS stands for in-plane switching, and it's the premium LCD option. A German researcher named Günther Bohr patented the concept back in 1990. But it wasn't until 1996 that Hitachi actually brought IPS panels to market. The big difference? IPS crystals rotate horizontally, staying parallel to the glass, rather than tilting vertically like TN. This parallel rotation is why colors stay consistent from any angle. Think of it like revolving doors, where TN crystals are like Venetian blinds that tilt. IPS crystals spin flat like a revolving door. They stay in the same plane, but change orientation. The specs here are impressive. Viewing angles hit 178 degrees both horizontally and vertically. Color accuracy covers 95 to 100% of sRGB, with premium models hitting 100% of Dolby RGB. Response times are slower than TN at 5 to 8 milliseconds, but most people can't notice that. Difference: IPS panels shine in professional work. Photo editing, video production, graphic design. Anything where color accuracy matters. They're also in every flagship smartphone. iPhones, Samsung Galaxy phones, premium Android devices. Medical displays use IPS because doctors need to see accurate images from different positions. The downsides: IPS costs 15 to 20% more than TN and uses 15% more power. Here's the fun part. When Apple slapped the Retina display name on the iPhone 4 in 2010, they basically made IPS the standard for premium devices. It was just good IPS marketing, but it worked. Now, TN is basically extinct in mobile. Moving on to backlighting, which is where things get really interesting. Chapter 3: LED Edge. Edge-lit displays put LEDs only around the edges of the screen. This design came to market around 2008, when TV manufacturers wanted impossibly thin panels. Edge-lit uses typically 500 to 1,000 LEDs positioned around the perimeter, top and bottom, or all 4 sides. Light from these edge LEDs shines inward through a diffuser layer that spreads it across the whole screen. It's like putting flashlights around the edges of a frosted glass window. Light spreads from the edges toward the center, but the middle ends up dimmer. The big advantage here is thickness. Edge-lit panels can be just 10 to 25 millimeters thin, perfect for wall mounting. They're also cheaper to make than other options. If you've got a budget TV from the past 10 years, it's probably edge-lit. But the picture quality trade-offs are real. Backlight uniformity is poor, with visible bright spots near the edges and dimming toward the center. Local dimming is very limited, usually just 8 to 32 zones. That means you can't get deep blacks, just dark gray at best. You'll also see clouding in dark scenes and vertical or horizontal light streaks around bright objects. Edge-lit TVs work fine in bright rooms, where deep blacks don't matter much. They're great for offices, hotel rooms, and secondary displays. But for home theater use or gaming in a dark room, the limitations become really obvious. That brings us to a much better approach. Chapter 4. LED Full Array. Full Array Local Dimming, or FALD, changes the game entirely. Instead of edge LEDs, a full grid of LEDs sits directly behind the entire screen. These LEDs are grouped into 50 to 500 independently controllable zones. When a dark scene appears, the TV can dim or turn off zones behind those dark areas while keeping bright zones lit. This creates much deeper blacks and higher contrast than edge-lit designs. Think of it like stadium lights spread across an entire ceiling, where edge lighting is like perimeter lights trying to illuminate the whole space. Full array gives you direct lighting everywhere. Zone counts matter a lot here. Budget models might have 50 zones. Premium sets like Sony's ZD-9 from 2016 had 700 zones, with each LED acting as its own zone. Quick reminder, if you're finding this helpful, that subscribe button helps us make more videos like this. Now, back to full array. The specs tell the story. Brightness can hit 1500 nits, way higher than edge-lit. Contrast ratios reach 10,000 to 1 or higher. You'll find FALD in mid to high-end LCD TVs, especially those marketed for HDR content. It's also in high-end gaming monitors and professional displays. The catch? FALD panels are thicker, usually 30 to 60 millimeters instead of 10 to 25. They cost more and use more power because of all those extra LEDs. You'll also see blooming, where bright objects create halos in dark scenes. And sometimes black crush, where dark details get lost when zones dim too much. But compared to edge-lit, it's night and day. Full array is the foundation that made modern premium LCD TVs possible. Next up, the technology that took full array to the extreme. Chapter 5. Mini LED. Mini LED shrinks everything down to squeeze thousands of LEDs behind your screen. The tech hit the market in 2019 with TCL's 6 Series TVs. Apple brought it mainstream in 2021 with the 12.9-inch iPad Pro and MacBook Pro. Mini LEDs are less than 0.2 millimeters each compared to standard LEDs that are much larger. Because they're tiny, you can fit 10,000 to 30,000 behind a TV instead of 1,000 to 10,000. These mini LEDs are grouped into 1,000 to 2,500 zones that dim independently. It's like going from 50 light switches in your house to 2,500. Way more precise control. The result is a massive leap in picture quality. Peak brightness hits 1,000 to 2,000 nits. Contrast ratios exceed 100,000 to 1. The blooming effect from full array gets dramatically reduced because zones are so much smaller. Think of it like pixels in a photo. More pixels means sharper images. More LED zones means more precise light control. Mini LED offers most of the contrast benefits of OLED without the burn-in risk. You'll find it in Samsung's Neo QLED TVs, LG's QNED series, TCL's 6 and 8 series, and Apple's premium laptops and tablets. The limitations? It's expensive compared to standard LED. Zone count still matters. Cheap mini LED might only have 200 zones, which isn't much better than decent full array. It's also thicker than OLED or edge-lit, and can't achieve perfect blacks like OLED since it's still LCD-based. Here's the flex. Apple's 2021 MacBook Pro crammed 10,000 tiny LEDs behind a 16-inch screen, creating over 1,000 dimming zones. Laptop screens so good it rivaled OLED TVs. That's when people realized mini LED wasn't just marketing hype. Speaking of perfect blacks, let's talk about the technology that actually achieves them. Chapter 6. OLED. OLED stands for Organic Light Emitting Diode, and it's a completely different beast. Sony launched the first commercial OLED TV in 2007. It was 11 inches and cost $2,500, comically small and expensive. But it proved the technology worked. OLED doesn't use a backlight at all. Instead, each pixel contains organic compounds sandwiched between two electrodes. When voltage is applied, electrons and holes recombine in the emissive layer and release energy as visible light. Every pixel is its own tiny light bulb that turns on and off completely. No backlight bleeding, no zones, no compromises. The specs are wild. Response time is 0.1 milliseconds, basically instant. Contrast ratio is infinite because pixels turn completely off for perfect black. The panel itself is just 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters thick, 10 times thinner than LCD. Viewing angles are 178 degrees with zero color. Shift. Think of LCD as a book, thick with multiple layers. OLED is like a sheet of paper, super thin with just the essentials. You'll find OLED in premium TVs from LG, Sony, and Samsung. Every flagship smartphone uses OLED. Smartwatches, VR headsets, and foldable phones all use OLED because it can flex. The downsides? Burn-in risk is real. Leave static images on screen for thousands of hours and pixels permanently damage. Peak brightness maxes out around 400 to 1000 nits, lower than mini LED's 2000. OLED is also more expensive to manufacture, especially at large sizes. Blue pixels have shorter lifespans than red or green, but those perfect blacks and that infinite contrast ratio, nothing else matches it. For dark room viewing, OLED is king. That brings us to Samsung's answer to OLED. Chapter 7. QLED. QLED stands for Quantum Dot Light Emitting Diode. But here's the thing, it's not like OLED at all. Samsung developed quantum dot technology and launched QLED branding in 2017. QLED is still LCD, but with a quantum dot and color filter layer. Quantum dots are nanocrystals tens of thousands of times smaller than a human hair. When blue LED light hits these nanocrystals, they emit pure red or green light, depending on crystal size. It's like having a perfect color filter on your camera lens. Instead of white light shining through color filters and losing brightness, QLED generates the exact colors needed. This creates purer, more accurate colors than traditional LCD. Samsung's quantum dot film requires at least 3,000 parts per million of quantum dot concentration to work properly. The big advantage is brightness. QLED TVs can hit 1,500 to 4,000 nits, brighter than any other TV type, including OLED. Color gamut covers 100% of DCI-P3, approaching 90 to 100% of Rec 2020. That's wider than OLED. Colors stay accurate even at peak brightness, where OLED starts to fade. There's also no burn-in risk since quantum dots are inorganic. You'll find QLED in Samsung's entire TV lineup, from the Q6F to the QN990F. TCL and Hisense also make QLED TVs. They're great for bright rooms and HDR content. The catch? QLED is still LCD underneath, so it can't achieve perfect blacks like OLED. It depends on the backlight quality. An edge-lit QLED still has poor blacks. But combine QLED with mini LED, like Samsung's Neo QLED, and you get the best of both worlds. The QLED name was brilliant marketing. It made people think it rivaled OLED when really it's enhanced LCD, sneaky but effective. Now let's talk about the newest tech that's taking over 2026. Chapter 8. Micro RGB. Micro RGB is the display technology everyone's talking about at CES 2026. Samsung launched the first 15-inch model in 2025. Now Samsung, LG, TCL, Sony, and Hisense all have Micro RGB TVs launching this year. The key difference? Micro RGB uses tiny separate red, green, and blue LEDs as the backlight instead of white or blue LEDs with color filters. These RGB LEDs are smaller than 100 microns each, grouped into optical units behind the screen. Think about it like this. Standard LED TVs use a white flashlight with color filters, losing brightness in the process. Micro RGB has separate red, green, and blue flashlights shining the exact color needed. No filters, no wasted light. The result is 100% coverage of the Rec 2020 color space, certified by VDE. That's the holy grail of color accuracy. Before Micro RGB, only RGB laser projectors could hit that. Peak brightness reaches 1500 to 2500 nits. Local dimming typically exceeds 1000 zones. Light bleed is reduced because RGB LEDs provide more precise color control. Energy efficiency improves by 30% compared to white backlights with filters. You'll find Micro RGB in ultra-premium TVs across 55 to 115-inch sizes, with prices to match that premium positioning. The limitations? It's still LCD-based, so no perfect blacks like OLED. Manufacturing is complex because you need 3 separate LEDs per unit instead of 1. Availability is limited since it just launched, and prices are steep. This is flagship territory. But here's why it matters. Micro RGB is the first LCD technology to hit 100% of Rec 2020. That color space is the standard for professional video production. Having consumer TVs that can display it accurately changes what's possible for content creators and viewers. And if you want to keep learning about display tech, check out our video on monitor refresh rates. I'll link it right here. Thanks for watching.